was in elementary school. This is when it all started. You know, I was probably in second grade. You know, they came through these classes back then. They had music class, and they would demo the instruments, and you know, they have someone come in and play it, and they were trying to sell you on, you know, signing up for lessons. So I took violin lessons from second grade, and I took lessons and played all the way in the orchestra up until high school. By the time I got to freshman year in high school, I was already playing guitar, and because I had transferred from violin to guitar and then to piano. And I had most of the stuff that I had written before happened when I was younger. So it was high school, college, and you know, my early career when I was working. You know, and then it kind of died off for writing music for probably 10 years or 15 years or whatever it was. I was stepping down out of my business. I had hired a CEO to run the business, so I was backing out of the business, and the expectation of selling it. And at the same time, we were planning on having the boys. But it freed my mind up to fall back on something which was always part of my life, which was music that had really been dormant for a bunch of years. So I would you know, wake up in the middle of the night, you know, and I can't sleep, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell my life is all about. And I would wander down, and I would go into the studio, and I would you know, pick up a guitar or whatever it was and play some piano. I have a piano down there as well, and I would just start messing around. And I said, you know, geez, I'm going to try to write something. I'm going to try to write something, and I always wanted to make a record, and I'm just going to write songs. I'm just going to see what happens.
We'll have to maybe pull them back from overplaying sometimes, you know?
Yeah, well, because these cats can go, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, like, and, you know, they may be, I think that's where production comes in of, like, you know, recognizing when, okay, that's enough, you know? Because they, you know, are used to doing the Nashville thing, probably, you know?
Which is what?
Overproduction.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
well, remind them what Jimmy Page said then.
What is that?
Sometimes it's the notes you don't play.
Yeah, that's true. Right? Very true.
Well, I'm excited about it because he seems like he has a good understanding of where I want to go. And I think where he wants to go is aligned with where I want to go. So I don't feel like we'll end up in a place that's, you know, I'm looking for Zeppelin, he's giving me Yanni. You know, so I'm feeling good about that.
That's good. Yeah. No Yanni. No Yanni.
Well, I could use a little Yanni. We're relaxing, you know.
How do you think the sessions are going to go?
I think they're going to be. I think the players are going to be fantastic. I mean, just what I know about these guys are very impressive resumes, and you know they're going to be able to do all the things that I hear, and then some. You know, which is fantastic. And they're going to introduce a whole nother level of creativity that doesn't exist. So I'm excited to hear what they contribute. It's like a cowbell funky kind of 70s funk thing.
On the edges.
You know?
Yeah,
play it back then.
I basically reversed the intro.
Yeah, this is what it.
Mad World came in my mind, you know, and it was that riff that, you know. So that came in my head one morning. I woke up and it was in my head. For me, it was a filler. For me, it wasn't anything worthy. It was It was kind of like a filler song. It's just whatever. It's just like this rockin' song. That's the way it is. You know, I didn't hold it in a lot of high regard. But that was the first one that Kennedy jumped on. John jumped on and said, "Mad World, that's the one. That's going to take right, and that's the one of all these songs." He really took a hold of that one, and I think what they did with it I was all in his direction. It came out fantastic. The melody came on, and I started thinking about when you're young, when you're a teenager, when adolescence, when everything is magnified and a lot of insecurities and a lot of questions. The middle school years were tough for me. I mean, it was tough to, it's probably tough for everyone. You never know to fit in. You start, you may like this girl and you don't want to talk to her. You're afraid to talk to her, or she blows you off, or all of these emotions are there. And I think for kids that age, it's a very difficult time, and it can be a very dangerous time. When I sat down to write, and I said, I'm going to write a song, that's what came up.
Hello, you might not know.
In my opinion, what Lou's doing is the best thing to do. It's like, you get these great players in a room and you have ideas, but you also want to let them sort of, see where it goes and then hone that, as opposed to just being like dictating, you do this, you do this, you do this, because then you might miss out on what we call like the happy accidents, stuff you weren't expecting, like, oh, that's awesome. And that's what I like about it. It's the chance to creatively discover something that you didn't know was going to happen.
So Lou brings a really unique voice to the music he does. Like he's kind of got this Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, 70s rock thing going. It's super cool, So we get to play like a band, which is awesome. And he's been really great because he's like allowing us to sort of have uninhibited creation with this stuff, and he's trusting us to put our ideas on there, and it's been really fun.
Snowberry Lane is the reason why I pursued this in Nashville and not in New York or Boston or LA or something else, because of the country overtone that I heard in my head. But I'm not a country player, so what came out as the years they started spinning, well, back when we were young, was not how the demo went. The demo was very more Stonesy. Years they started spinning, way back when we were young. It was a more Rolling Stones, because that's more my influence. But as you know, the song came out. It's a two-stepping country song. I mean, it's hardcore country, and that's. I'm glad it came out that way, because I couldn't have produced it that way at all.
Days were endless. We wind up by the swing. someone's hand and everything. The years they started spinning way back when we were young, and everything was new and just for fun. And I'd walk across the field the way you used to play, the yellow house on Snowberry Lane. The summer day.
We do a little bit of everything, a lot of the mainstream pop country stuff. Lou brought in a demo, and it pretty much has the vibes. We take what he brought in, and then we just kind of play our interpretation of what he does in our own manner, and listen to each other, and just find a way to make it cohesive and work together. We listen to it once, we've got it written out, and just go start playing and see what happens.
I'm sure
Enjoy it.
Lou is real glad that you were part of this project.
I'm glad to be here.
January Woman was on the guitar. I came up with that little riff. You know, if I can do on this thing.
Set the scene, a winter's dream. I wonder what it all could mean.
Developed a lot, you know, when I used to travel for work. You know, I'd be sitting at the airport, I'd be in between planes or whatever, and you'd be sitting at the bar and you'd see another, you know, warrior, road warrior, salesperson on the other side, and you know, he or she is sitting at the bar all alone, just killing time or whether it is. And there's this whole, you know, population of people that spend time in these airports traveling, and ironically they end up getting trapped at the same time because the storm comes, the flights get canceled, and they get stuck. So this is a story about two people that are, you know, trapped in an airport at the same time, and they end up, you know, feeling the temptation.
I ask you how you've been. You tell me how it's happened again.
I mean, these guys are taking the song in a whole other place, which is fantastic. It's a place I never could even thought of. You know, I mean, and each one brings their own separate talent to it. Just to have this level of caliber of talent in a room working on your song, and these guys being excited about your song, it's fantastic. It's awesome. I'm happy.
You should be.
I am.
Just listening to this caliber of what they're turning into. I mean, you're listening to your demo, you had an idea, but then to hear it now being transformed, what's that like?
Yeah, it's you know, I've never experienced it before. It's tough to let them go because in my mind I hear one thing, and you know, that's what I laid down, and you know, what they end up with is going to be something different. But it's so much better in a lot of different ways. You know, I look back, there's a lot of stuff that I'm losing out on. But that's the whole art. That's the whole thing about music. It's just it's a living, breathing thing, and these guys are different living, breathing creatures, and they're just delivering it. And I got no complaints.
Sometimes it's hard to let go of something that are your children. You know what I mean? And especially if you've never done this before, and you know, you're coming in and you don't know the way things go down, and there's only one electric tracking, and you go, oh, that's not all. You know. You have to kind of trust the process and know that these guys know what they're doing. You know, I mean, they're the best musicians in the world. So, you know, for me to come in and go, well, you know, I think you missed this. If you can blah, blah, you know, when you micromanage people, I think, you know, it kind of sucks the creativity out of the room. So I think my first job, you know, as a producer is casting, you know, casting the right guys that want to be here and guys that I know can play. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. We talk about arrangement. We talk about instrumentation, of course. So I try to sit back and observe and, really see where I can fit in, give suggestions. I know what I like. I know what I would lean into, and what my preference is. I always share that. I don't ever want to be super pushy about it, But I think it's your relationship with your client too.
Baby Hold On, that was a guitar thing. I wrote it on this guitar. I wrote it on this this Gibson. I thought of it as a Tom Petty song. I always thought of it as Tom Petty. As a matter of fact, I got to a point where I talked to a friend of mine that is in the music business. He's been there for a long time. And I said, look, I got to get a hold of Mike Campbell, because the Heartbreakers are the ones that have to do this song. This song is a Tom Petty song. And I remember when I wrote the demo, I said, I got to dedicate this to the life of Tom Petty, because it just... So Petty was in my head, the whole thing. Like everyone, I think, there comes time in your life where you're like, I just want to walk all away. You can just drive it, leaving it all behind. That's what this song is about. And I think that, for me, Tom Petty encapsulates that whole feeling. Maybe John Mellencamp too, but I think Tom Petty is what, to me, that's where that song was. And I still would love to see the Heartbreakers do that. Mike Campbell take it and do something with it. Maybe I should try to reach out to him. But
So is it 3 choruses back to back then? Kind of?
I
To the end,
guess.
it's to the end. It's
Yeah.
to the end.
All courses all the way.
That's it.
Yeah.
1, 4, 5.
Okay.
Where are we gonna hear from? Where are we gonna start? We can always. Well, I would love to.
I think that's probably one of the most I won't say overlooked, but I think generally people underestimate the engineer in some ways as far as capturing what they're giving. Best players in the world, but if you have somebody that can't capture it very well, then it's not going to sound like them, and it's sure not going to sound probably pretty good. I've spent a lot of time trying to research and capture the essence of what anybody's giving me the best way. I've worked with a couple guys like Lou, where it's like they're like older guys that have kind of wanted to record but had never had the chance. And for me, it actually, I love working on stuff with those guys almost more because there's like a magical like world like feeling that they have, and to be able to experience that and to help somebody experience that is like what this is all about for me. Like if I can bring somebody else that feeling, I've done my job. And like these guys and the studio, and honestly just like it's just fun to see people so happy, because like you kind of, in my position and in our position, we kind of sometimes forget that like this for other people, like this is like the coolest thing in the world, and it is to us too, but like we do it enough that we kind of forget that sometimes. And it's nice to be reminded with guys like Lou and people that I've worked with that don't get to experience it ever or all the time, and it's just fun.
They have an
to see.
appreciation.
Yeah, they have an appreciation for it, and that helps us vibe better because they're enjoying it more.
which is, right out of Exile on Main Street. I mean, it's Stones right out of Exile is what is in my head. From that to the piano licks to the boogie woogie piano, all of those things that are on the demo, I was going for that straight rock, Stonesy rock. And it's really about, the period for me from like 2006 to 2012, 13, 14, well, really right up until the kids were, it was a pretty wild time, and Shannon and I did a lot of cool things. I mean, we traveled quite a bit. We spent a lot of time in Vegas. We spent a lot of time in New York City at the clubs, and so it was a whole whirlwind of a time in our life, and so I thought about that. I thought about that way that people live. You're on South Beach at a club, and you get in the private plane, and you fly into Manhattan, and then you're in the city, and it's all, you're in the limo, and you put the tic tac, and you cut the line, and it's all that access kind of thing. That's what I was trying to capture with that song.
I feel like Lou's stuff is at least like it's more of a blank canvas. Like in a certain regard, he has a lot of the ideas already kind of sussed out in his brain, but in the I guess like comparing it to like working on pop country stuff where there's kind of a rigid format, there's a lot more so this stuff is a lot more malleable, you know what I mean? So it feels like you can flex it and bend it and kind of take an idea and run with it more so. And plus we have a little bit more time to cut each tune than we would in like a pop country slam session type of situation.
It looks like you guys are having fun.
Oh yeah, I think I see people smiling.
and as far as working with Lou, he's been talking to all you guys on the deal
he's
here.
Great, man. Yeah, he's a super cool dude, and happy to have him here. Happy to be a part of it.
Deal. Tell me, you got any thoughts on the kinds of songs Lou's written, and that you're, as you listen to him and you play them?
He definitely is. He's got kind of a vast, like he casts the net pretty wide, you know what I mean? So, I don't know if that's the next song we're doing.
It is, yeah.
But it sounds like a funk song.
Luxury Girl, yeah, and that's my favorite.
We just did like a Pink Floyd song, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's pretty wide variety of stuff, which is nice.
I personally love the guitar thing. It just feels like something's about to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I love that.
Can I get one fix? Can I get the last line of the chart?
And Taking You Down, originally I thought it'd be a dance groove, underground kind of clubby thing. And I wrote it on a synthesizer. And there was this riff, and I can't even play it on the guitar, but there was this funky groove riff, real 80s, 70s synth stuff that was in the dance mode. So I'm thinking, Michael Jackson, I'm thinking early Michael Jackson, I'm thinking some of the disco stuff that was in the late 70s. I wanted that really kind of groove. So the original demo was all techno on the underlying techno on it. But then I read about in Pennsylvania, one of the Catholic Church pedophile things that was going on, and it really bummed me out. It really got under my skin. It was really bothering me. This was one thing that I took the sample clips from. Were victims. They were interviewing the victims. So that was in my head, and then when the lyrics came, it's all about that. It's all about that. And I'm taking you down. I mean, that's, hopefully they take those bastards down, because it's the devil, man.
6, 5, 7, 6, 6 flat.
Is that correct?
Can you play it again?
Yeah,
one more time,
just a little bit.
just to get the rhythm of it.
The rhythm is where I'm
Pretty sure I might be wrong. I probably
It was a mistake.
I just wondering if it's there all goes wrong.
Oh, they're taking you down. Son, now let that teach you. Mind your wicked ways. If it's pleasing God, then it can't be wrong. It's where it stays. Not a word be spoken till you lay down in your grave. Candlelight shines in the window on a cold night. Some kind of vigilance somewhere. Somehow you hold on.
Okay, Someday. That's probably one of my favorite on the record. And I put it the last song, Okay Someday, probably because when I was a kid, I used to have a turntable in my bedroom, and I would put a record on, and the last song before it would shut off and I'd go to sleep was always important to me. It seems like the last song on side 2 of an album is always an important song, and I think Okay Someday is a good capture of that. But it's a song about desperation. Anyone that's been in a really crappy relationship where you have intense love but just horrible relationships, and whether it's abusive or whether it's emotionally just torn, and dying relationship where someone wants to end it and someone doesn't want to end it, and that desperation from the other side is what this song's about. And really I wanted to capture the conflict, the internal conflict, where I love this woman, we belong together, we could have made it, we could have done this, where get out, scream away, go away from me, I remember the good stuff, I remember all the wonderful things, but your eyes are empty, there's nothing there. So that conflict, the flipping, maybe it's bipolar, I don't know, but on one hand you like it, the other hand you hate it. And I wanted the music to reflect that. So the music's, it's strummy and quiet in one sense, it's, candlelight. Candlelight, shine in the window on a cold night. Some night of it somewhere. Right? And then it comes at you like a mad explosion in your mind, Lucky One was written originally on a piano, transferred over to a guitar, And you know, the inspiration for that song was really my life, and I've been blessed in my life, and it's really my experience with my wife, you know, who's my partner in life, and you know, the whole courting process and where things are. And again, that was written at a point where, you know, it was written before we had our boys, so that all anticipation, expectation of what's coming when you have children. Little did I know what it was going to be, but at the time, but you know, it's more than what I thought it would be. But all that's a very, you know, it's very critical and important and memorable time in your life. So it's almost capturing that. It is capturing that period, because that's when this stuff was written, right before and right after my boys were born.
I catch me a sight of a woman who just made a man. I can't help but stare as you're washing your hair, the scent of you filling the air. I'm a regular Joe, no one else seems to know, and you got my head up in a daze.
Here, why don't you give it to me and I'll take them off because it's broken.
I'm impressed with how the songs are different. A little bit. Bucket list.
Wow.
You made a check.
Good. I want to do it again.
Go for it.
Well, you know he loves it.
Of course he can go for it again. Do it all over again.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see him take it and then have it transform and work with these guys and him have the experience producing it.
Yeah.
So, has he been happy?
That's exactly what I was just going to say. It's so great to see it through his eyes, the happiness. Crystal and I were just talking about that this morning, how happy he is about it.
One in love.